Welcome to episode 3. And in this episode, we're actually gonna dive into Fusion and dive into how to make this more like a lot trippier. And so there's a lot of things that we can do. The first thing I'm gonna do though is I'm gonna take what we have and I'm going to render it. So I'm gonna press Control. So I'm going to go in here. I'm gonna go render in place. So I have a keybind for it. You won't. But I'm going to go render in place. I'm going to go AVI and uncompress. Before I do that, I'm going to go into our renders folder, which is exactly why I did that. That's why I built that in the first episode. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to render, go cache, and I'm just going to call it tutorials. Select that folder, come in here, and select folder. It's going to automatically render all that. So it's going to take time. If you already have the blue line, it's going to render much quicker. So now at this point, all this footage is rendered. It's going to play back buttery smooth. And this is actually going to help out with the render times. So next thing I want to do is I want to add some kind of color going on. So to add color corrections, so there's a few things that we can do. We can go to the color tab. So you can go to effects, adjustment clip, and then I'm going to explain what the adjustment clip does. So the adjustment clip is basically, it's just a clip that you put, and it's going to basically go on top of your footage. It's going to apply an effect on that footage. So I'm not going to get into how the Fusion Editor works right away. I'm just going to get into, actually I will get into how this works. This episode's about. It's going to be navigating the Fusion tab, and then we're going to go into the color tab. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go color, corrector, and then and so what I can do with this is I can, well actually first I should mention what exactly is going on. Here I have our media pool. This is going to be basically where you can grab volume. You can grab our videos, music, whatever. Maybe you can drag that in. We're not going to worry about that right now. We have the footage. So there's the media in node. This is what we want. This is going to be the media that's coming in, and the 2 is going to be the media that's coming out. So what I want you to think about is we have our input and we have our output, and we have this yellow line. And all we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding transformations onto this footage, and then we're going to be putting that in the middle of this yellow line. So I could add other footage if I wanted to. So I got this footage here. It's going to be media 2, but I'm not going to because I just want to apply effects to this. And so effects wise, we can apply effects by clicking on the effects tab, and there's a whole bunch of things, a whole bunch of stuff. Like I'm not even going to get into like what all these are, but some of them are pretty cool. But at the end of the day, like this burning engine thing. But I'm not even going to touch on what is going on because there's a lot of stuff and you don't need to worry about all that right now. But what we're going to be only working with is going to be some very basic transformations that we can have from this sort of hotbar. So here we have background, fast noise, text, paint. So all of these are going to come in handy later. We're going to have color correctors, and then we're going to have merge nodes and stuff like that, and this transform. The transform comes in handy. The rectangle and the ellipse and all that stuff also does as well. These are masks, so I can apply like an ellipse, put that in there, and look, I masked out my footage. So we have, and if you notice, we have these different color lines. So this blue triangle, that's where we put a mask. That means that's applying a mask over the footage, so that's going to cut out anything. So what a mask is going to look like is basically, if I had any white, so if I had like a rectangle here, and I made the rectangle just white, and I applied it to my footage, it should mask it all out, I think. Maybe I'm being incorrect with this. But if I apply, oh no, it's based on alpha, so if I set the alpha all the way down, it's going to disappear. But either way, I should actually talk about it. Display things. Press 1 and 2 to display things. 1 is going to display it on this side. 2 is going to display on this screen. Background, where we can add all these other things. If I added like this fast noise node, I press 1, I can see it here. And one thing to keep in mind is, like, if you're not viewing it, it's not going to render. So if I have this fast noise and I have stuff happening in the background, and I press this 1, like, it's actually not going to be rendering. So I can save on performance if I have some intensive stuff just by not rendering it at that moment, or not putting it into the viewer. But now we're actually going to add some like effects. So we're going to add one effect. It's going to be this color corrector. So what I can do is I can grab it from here, but I'm going to do Control Space. It's going to allow me to search it up. So color corrector. I'm going to grab, click and drag, and I'm going to hold Shift, click, drag, and drag it in. And that's going to give me this color corrector node. And so one thing I'll mention is my screen or my bits sort of snap to the screen like this. Yours will not. So to do that, to automatically force them to snap, you have to go into Arrange Tools, and you got to go to Grid. And you want to, so right click, you go Arrange Tools to Grid, and that should snap them together. So what you're going to do now is you're going to go and you're going to start doing some keyframing. So I'm going to go into Hue, and I'm going to click at the start, and then, so if you don't know what hue is, the hue is going to be like, it's going to basically tilt the colors or change the colors a little bit, all the colors. So here everything becomes different. So we're going to add kind of like this disco effect. So -1, 0, and +1 are all going to be the same, right? They're all going to be kind of like the same sort of shift. So what we're going to be doing is we're basically going to be, I'm going to consider like 50 seconds or 48 seconds, basically. I'm going to do a loop. So every 48 seconds, I'm going to go from -1 to 1. So it's going to look kind of like this. So you can see it on this guy, right? So it's going to go 0, and then you see it starts normal, and it goes up, and then it ends. So once you 48 seconds, you notice that this ends. So I need to repeat this over and over and over again, right? So I have to go here, and you can see the keyframes with this little white arrow. You know what? I have to go another 48 seconds and then go back to -1. And I don't want to do that, right? Because it's a long time, and if you notice, this adjustment clip is actually pretty long. And then I want to, the key about an adjustment clip is that you can drag it and extend it out to any arbitrary length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to go into what's called the Spline Editor. And the Spline Editor is really cool. So you want to select your thing, your color corrector. You're going to go up here to these zoom to fit. And this is going to show you all the keyframes for your selected sort of transformation. So go Control A and select all the nodes, and come down to this smooth, and I'm going to automatically smooth it out. Next up, once I smooth it out, I'm going to go and I'm going to type set, or I'm going to click on set ping pong. What that's going to do is it's basically going to bounce it back and forth. And you see it creates this little wave effect. Looks really good. And so what it's going to do, if I play it back, you're going to notice it's going to cycle. So that looks good. That looks fun. So I'm going to have that cycle. Yeah, so the cycling of those colors looks really, really nice. So what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to adjust the actual colors. So I'm going to get into how to do that. I'm going to do some color correction now. So to do this, go into the color tab, and so if you notice that I disabled this adjustment clip, I did that on purpose, because if I enable the video track and I apply color, I'm actually applying color on the adjustment clip itself, which is not what I want. I want to apply color onto the actual video. So I'm going to apply color, and I'm going to go add node, and I'm going to go corrector. And so the color tab works a lot like the fusion tab, in the sense that you have like these nodes shadows you're going to be applying things to. But you can add masks, you can add like color selectors and things like that, and I'll go into how to make this. This will come in handy a lot more when it comes into making more complicated edits. But for now, we don't need to abuse everything. We just need to adjust the colors to something. So we're gonna do some very basic color corrections. So what we want to do is you want to adjust the temperature. So I want there to be, I want a lot of like color pops. So I'm gonna increase the saturation, right? But I don't like the default colors, right? They're kind of boring, kind of normal colors. I want to make it a little interesting. So I'm gonna decrease the temperature and go into different color wheels here. We don't need to worry about camera raw, color match, anything like that. Just focus on primaries, color wheel, and high dynamic range. So these guys. So from here, I'm gonna go contrast. I want to really boost up this contrast here. Now for the shadows, because we're like in Nepal or whatever, we're like in this cold area. I want those shadows to be nice and cold, really cold. And in the light areas, I want that cold. In color theory is like blue, right? Blue colors are very cold. Warm colors are very orange and red. So I'm going to increase the lighter regions with these reds. Overall global, I'm going to apply like a green tint. And then the darker regions, I'm going to apply green to the darker. No, I'm going to apply yellow. Maybe not. I think, yeah, so adding a bit of purple matches better. So adding purple to those dark regions, because those dark regions are going to be, there's a lot of wood, a lot of things like that. Those are the wood and stuff that are not as reflective. They're going to be a lot darker. So if you look, this color is already like a lot sharper versus what we had before. How do I display it? If I were to remove this, there you go. So you can see this is what it looked like before. This is what it looks like after. We really brought out a lot of that color. This is probably a better place to look. You can see we really brought out a lot of that color. Now we gotta do the exact same thing again. What we can do is you can actually just middle click on the last clip we had, and it's gonna copy over those colors. So this is also in that monastery map. So I'm just gonna basically drag all these colors over. And then this is also there. So this is the only one that's different. So I'm going to use a different color scheme. So this is obviously a warmer day. There's a lot of green. So I'm going to add some green and yellow, right? There we go. Some more yellow, less green into. All right, no, this is into the light regions. Yeah, I want to add sort of this green yellow because that's coming kind of from the sun. Overall, I can add some blue. And then shadow wise, the shadows are not going to be as cold, right? So the shadows are going to be more purple. The dark regions are really, where those shadows are, they're going to be a lot more sort of purple. Then the shadows themselves are going to be just sort of in this green range. And I'm going to add some more yellow into the light. You can see that better here. Add node corrector. I'm just going to basically drag this here, just so we can see those changes. So what it looked like before, what it looks like now. Obviously, now it's all kind of monochromatic. I want to increase that contrast. I'm going to go back here, increase that saturation. Now I'm not too worried about white balancing, because white balancing, once we add that like hue changing, like it's all gonna kind of look a little, okay, there we go. Now we add some temperature correction to really get these colors to settle, right? We want it to be a little colder, and this is what it looked like before. Now we really kind of bring out that color. So next step we're going to focus on is delivery. So what I'm going to go is to deliver. So I'm going to call this tutorial 3. If you were to if you want to upload your video to YouTube, you do a network optimization. You could also select here. There's a YouTube thing. You can actually, if you're gonna go to, I think, preferences, you can go to internet accounts. You can sign in on YouTube, and you can actually upload directly to YouTube. But I don't do that because I don't know when I render it. I don't know if that's gonna be my final render yet. I have to really. I like to play it back and view it on different things. So I'm just gonna go custom export, which is fine. I'm gonna call it tutorial 3, obviously. Then custom, honestly, resolution's fine, frame rate's fine. But I want to go into network optimization. If you were to send it over the internet, you want to do network optimization. In advanced settings, you want to use render cached images. You want to select that. I'm going to add render to render queue. And that adds to the queue. If you want to update this, you would go click on this pencil item, and you would go and you would select stuff, and you would go update job. Otherwise, if you didn't, I don't want to save it. If you didn't, it would just create a new render. And all I want to do is I want to render all. So I'm going to select this one. I could select multiple. I could render 2, render 1, render all. I'm just going to select render 1. It's going to render this job. And then by default, it's going to do the entire timeline. I forgot to mention that you actually want to set an in and out range when you render. So here I set this one here for the beginning and at the end. And yeah, so that's everything.